Operation Kelsey's World, Operation Stephanie White trying to get Kelsey Mitchell MVP. This entire thing is about Kelsey in this scoring streak, and she's played really well. But you can look at the last few games. You can tell the whole thing has been about Kelsey Mitchell keeping his scoring streak together, even in games that she hasn't played well. They force-fed her when she was stuck at 18. They force-fed her for an entire fourth quarter and overtime to get her to 20. And it continued on through the...
Indiana found a revolutionary new way to lose a basketball game. Make sure your best playmaker barely touches the basketball while another player chases a scoring record. Caitlin Clark spent the night getting shoved, hacked, and shoved again, while Stephanie White kept feeding Kelsey Mitchell. And somehow the final scoreboard became almost secondary. Because when fans realized what they were watching, they weren't asking why Indiana lost anymore. They were asking who wanted them to lose.
Fans aren't happy. Caitlin Clark fans aren't happy. They saw what the game plan was yesterday. Feed the ball to Kelsey Mitchell, and only Kelsey Mitchell. Caitlin Clark, not the focal point in the offense. No transition offense. Fans are not happy the morning after. Indiana Fever lose 91-85 to the Dallas.
20,700 fans packed that arena in Dallas, and by most estimates, most of them weren't there to watch the Wings. They came from Indiana, from Iowa, from wherever they could drive or fly, carrying signs with a number 22 on them, paying premium prices for the chance to watch Caitlin Clark do what she does better than almost anyone alive.
Now, we all know Stephanie White potentially moved Caitlin Clark to a role player, making her second and third option, catering to Kelsey Mitchell to make sure she keep her 20-plus point streak going. Now, in the midst of her doing that, man, it is completely sabotaging the team. Kelsey Mitchell was the only person benefiting from this, and it's really kind of hard to gauge. Like, is they doing this so Kelsey Mitchell could land another max deal possibly somewhere else just if Caitlin Clark don't leave because they feel like they owe her?
What they got instead was a masterclass in how to neutralize a superstar without ever having to guard her. And the most unsettling part is that the neutralizing didn't come from the Dallas Wings roster. It came from the Indiana Fever's own bench.
I wish it was a blowout so I wasn't sitting here getting all aggravated. Stephanie White sucks as a coach. Kelsey Mitchell's a great scorer. She's kind of in a slump right now, but she's still a great scorer. And Caitlin Clark is the...
Stephanie White is actively sabotaging Caitlin Clark's career, and we're all just watching and nothing's happening.
Before the opening tip, word circulating among people close to the Dallas coaching staff suggested their entire defensive strategy could be boiled down to a single sentence: keep Clark off the ball.
Stephanie White needs to be fired. The ESPN analysts that hate Caitlin Clark said it all. It's the sisterhood. And the sisterhood is Stephanie White's team. That's where most of the dramas came from. In Caitlin Clark's, now Sophie Cunningham's career. Stephanie White just defended Dejanay Carrington's, whatever you want to call it, assault attack on Sophie Cunningham. She defended Alyssa Thomas's fist to the throat and made Alyssa Thomas out to be the...
It's the kind of game plan every team in this league would love to install against a player who can turn a broken possession into 3 points from 28 feet. And normally that plan requires relentless physical pressure, disciplined rotations, and a willingness to live with the consequences. Dallas didn't need any of that on this particular night because, according to fans who watched the game unfold live, Stephanie White essentially executed that game plan for them. The isolation-heavy offense that Indiana ran throughout the fourth quarter kept Clark standing on the perimeter, watching rather than orchestrating, doing Dallas's job before Dallas even had to lift a finger. Odyssey Sims spent large stretches of the game using her body to bump Clark off her preferred spots before reaching in for steals, playing what looked less like structured defense and more like a wrestling match that happened to have a basketball involved. Paige Buchers matched that physicality on the other side of the ball, driving her forearm into Clark's back on drive after drive without drawing so much as a warning from the officiating crew. At one point, Clark was hit directly in the throat, and viewers watching at home noted this wasn't an isolated incident but part of a pattern that has followed her across multiple games this season.
So Stephanie White appears to be doing the opposing team's job for them. Ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to Caitlin Clark, you got Cheryl Reeve talking about how she's allowing Olivia Miles to play with freedom, curiosity, and confidence. Stephanie White seems determined to police every decision that Caitlin Clark makes on a basketball court, which is insane. So Cheryl Reeve talked about how easy it is to coach Olivia Miles, etc., etc. And then you got Caitlin Clark second guessing herself. I told you guys Stephanie White was not the...
Later in the contest, she was knocked to the floor in a collision that resembled a football tackle far more than anything you'd expect from a basketball possession. An image that instantly went viral among fans already frustrated with how she's officiated on a nightly basis. What makes this particular game different from the usual complaints about physical play is that it happened in front of a national television audience, with commentators reacting to the non-calls as they occurred in real time, rather than fans discovering the footage days later through social media clips. Every grab, every shove, and every missed whistle unfolded in high definition for anyone paying attention to see clearly. Those aren't the numbers of a player having an off night shooting the basketball. They're the numbers of a player who never found any rhythm because she spent the evening absorbing contact instead of running an offense. The detail that stopped even casual observers in their tracks was her free throw total for the entire game. Exactly 1 attempt.
Stephanie White and Amber Cox is spearheading this smear campaign for Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham. Now, I'm pretty sure ever since people started pointing out Amber Cox reposting and bragging about Kelsey Mitchell on X, she kind of went silent. I ain't seen her X account in a minute. Let me go see. Because ever since people called her out about highlighting every great thing Kelsey Mitchell has done, we haven't too much heard from Amber.
For a point guard getting hammered on nearly every drive to the basket, a single trip to the line isn't just a statistical oddity, it's a data point that fuels an argument fans have been making for over a year now about how inconsistently this league officiates its most marketable player. Longtime ESPN anchor Linda Cohn weighed in publicly on this exact issue, reacting to a viral clip showing Clark fouled multiple times on a single possession without a whistle, only to be called for a foul herself on the very next defensive trip over what appeared to be minimal contact. Meanwhile, on the opposite end of the floor, Kelsey Mitchell was putting together a historic performance, finishing with 37 points and extending her streak of consecutive 20-point games to 21, an all-time WNBA record. Under any normal circumstances, that accomplishment deserves nothing but celebration. Mitchell has earned her standing in this league through years of consistent scoring, and nobody watching this unfold is suggesting she did anything wrong by taking the shots her coaching staff drew up for her.
Floor. And you got Stephanie White and Kelsey Mitchell celebrating even during a loss, her scoring streak, because essentially that is what the season is about at this point. It's about the scoring streak and, you know, trying to get Kelsey Mitchell in. Stephanie White running every play for you, but you a baller, you get your buckets, but Stephanie White has completely catered the entire offense to Kelsey Mitchell. There's no pick and roll action, which is the main strength of Caitlin Clark's game. Caitlin Clark has been forced to be an ISO scorer, and she's so good, she's gotten good at it, but that's not the bread.
The problem fans are pointing to isn't Mitchell's production. It's how that production was manufactured and at whose expense it came. Breaking down the offensive sets from this game reveals a pattern that fans and analysts alike found difficult to ignore. Rather than running the offense through Clark, arguably the best passer on the roster and one of the best in the league at reading a defense in real time, Indiana repeatedly cleared out space for Mitchell to operate in isolation. On more than one occasion, Mitchell forced up a contested shot, and Indiana escaped with a fortunate whistle, rather than an actual advantage created through design, which isn't something a team can rely on repeating possession after possession. This is where the accusation of stat padding started gaining traction online, and it's worth being precise about what that accusation actually is. Fans and commentators have argued, based on the pattern of play calls and shot distribution, that White prioritized helping Mitchell reach her scoring milestone over running the offense in a way that gave Indiana the best chance to win the basketball game.
If you guys don't remember, Caitlin Clark dropped 32 points, 9 assists, 7 3-pointers made, and she had 8 rebounds at that. Nearly a triple-double. And Stephanie White, instead of celebrating this, she started nitpicking.
So she got hot early. Not
And look at how uncomfortable she is just starting. She got hot early. Like Stephanie, she literally dropped a 32-point triple-double. Yes, she had a crazy start, hot start, but that continued in the second half with her facilitating. She still had control over the game.
That's a claim fueled by circumstantial evidence rather than a confirmed motive, but the box score gives it real weight. A starting point guard attempting one free throw while her team runs isolation after isolation for a teammate isn't proof of intent, but it's exactly the kind of pattern that invites the question, especially when fans have noted this exact dynamic building across multiple games throughout the season, not just this one against Dallas. The rest of the roster's production only reinforces how lopsided this game plan became. Boston contributed 14 points and 9 rebounds doing her usual interior work. 4 separate Dallas players reached double figures in scoring, spreading the ball around in a way that consistently punished Indiana's one-dimensional approach. And when one team distributes scoring opportunities while the other concentrates everything into a single player, the team with more options tends to win that game far more often than not. None of this is meant to diminish what Mitchell accomplished statistically, but it does raise a legitimate question about coaching priorities in a game Indiana needed badly.
Unwatchable basketball. Why did Stephanie White change our offense when we were winning the past 5 games? Yesterday was, in fact, trashkin ball. Sure, it was definitely horrible. Unwatched, very unwatchable. Shout out to everybody in the venue. Yesterday was a top 5 hardest watches of WNBA basketball this season. Top 5 hardest watches of WNBA basketball this season, and amongst the top 7 throughout the entire.
Every substitution, every timeout, and every play call reflects a decision. And when those decisions consistently funnel opportunities toward one storyline rather than generating the ball movement that actually wins basketball games, that becomes a front office problem rather than just a fan complaint. Fan frustration surrounding this game has moved well beyond typical post-game grumbling. Comment sections and social media threads have filled with fans saying they can no longer bring themselves to watch Fever broadcasts, describing the coaching staff as complicit in allowing what they call thuggish defensive treatment to continue unchecked while doing nothing to protect their franchise player. That same fan emphasized the scale of the crowd inside that arena, noting that with more than 20,000 fans in attendance, and the clear majority there specifically to watch Clark play, being denied the chance to see her operate at full capacity felt like a genuine letdown after paying real money for tickets and travel.
Man, I'm still pissed. I was livid during my game live stream. I was pissed in my post-game video. I'm still mad, man. Indiana Fever should have won this damn game. Chris DeMarco and Brianna Stewart exposed Stephanie White at the podium. They were connected, and Stephanie White's Indiana Fever wasn't, because Stephanie White was playing Caitlin Clark at small forward and playing Aaliyah Boston at point guard like an idiot.
This is where the emotional stakes and the business stakes start to overlap. Clark's presence sells out road arenas, moves jerseys off shelves, and shapes television deals across the league in ways no other player currently does. When fans who traveled specifically to see her play come away feeling like the experience was sabotaged by her own coaching staff, that's not just a basketball problem anymore. That's a business problem for a franchise that depends heavily on the goodwill and continued investment of exactly those fans. Front offices typically don't add experienced coaching pieces like this without a longer-term plan attached, and given a full season's worth of complaints about how Clark has been used within this offense, the timing lines up in a way that's difficult to dismiss as coincidence. Consider everything that's accumulated around White's system throughout this year. The missing ball screens that once defined Clark's game, the stagnant hub offense running through Boston that consistently fails to generate movement, and possessions where the league's most gifted passer simply stands and watches rather than touching the basketball.
Thought we would be here. The story of the 2026 Indiana Fever, they're not winning the championship, guys. I'm going to just be honest with you. I don't believe they're winning the championship. They're lucky if they get into the playoffs. I believe that they're going to be knocked out in the first round. This has nothing to do with Caitlin Clark. Nothing to do with Caitlin Clark. If I'm Caitlin Clark, I'm talking to my agent right now. We're negotiating, and we're getting me the hell out of Indiana, bro. I don't even think getting a new coach could fix this.
Add the events of this particular game against Dallas, where isolation sets for Mitchell left Clark stranded on the perimeter while absorbing physical punishment with no real institutional response, and you have a front office sitting on a substantial body of evidence suggesting the current system isn't serving its most valuable asset. What remains true after all of this is that Clark absorbed real physical punishment on that floor for 40 minutes, and the coaching staff responsible for protecting her never called a timeout, never approached the officials, and never adjusted the offense to take the ball out of harm's way. Whether that reflects a deliberate strategy or simply a coaching philosophy that's fallen out of step with what this roster needs, the evidence keeps pointing in the same direction. Indiana didn't just lose a basketball game in Dallas. They exposed exactly why change might already be closer than anyone in that organization is willing to admit.